door, but somebody went in your house and took something and put it out on the street. That's what we're talking about here.
That was Paul Adams reporting on that story. And for more, I'm joined now by a former naval officer assigned to the Defense Intelligence Agency and now CEO of cybersecurity firm Conceal, Gordon Lawson. Great to get you on the program, Gordon. I don't know how much of my colleague Paul Adams's report you were able to hear there, but that seminal question, right? Like, how does a 21-year-old, presumably at the start of his career, get this level of clearance?
Well, yes, thank you. Pleasure to be with you. And it's an excellent question. And I will say that when you're in intelligence and you have the top secret clearance that this airman had, you're going to have access to some of this information. I think there was maybe more than would normally be involved in a normal DoD non-intelligence community post. But I think his role as a information security professional as well probably gave him some access to systems that would normally not be allowed with such a junior person.
So does that mean, though, that, other people who are at relatively junior positions as well could have access in other departments across authority levels in the U.S.? And what does that mean about how secure this information is in the first instance?
Right. Well, I think this is a problem. It's not just a U.S. problem. It's certainly, I think, it can be a problem against with all allies. We live in open societies. We do vet people, and when they are granted that top secret clearance, they're in a position of public trust. And I think the challenge with this
but Gordon,
is
I'm so sorry to jump in there, but this is the United States, right? This is the country that nations all over the world look at as one of the powerful superpowers, the most powerful superpower. And if information can't be safe there when it comes to secrets about allies, how can they trust that those sorts of discussions, that kind of intelligence is going to stay safe?
All right. No, it's very concerning. There's going to be a lot of, I think, backlash, obviously, and look at these systems to make sure this doesn't happen. I think the other piece, as what your previous guests were talking about, were this social media and this culture of celebrity is the other problem with this. Is we have a young person who who I think wasn't internalizing the consequences of breaching this trust and posting these items is going to result in probably a life in prison at this point, right? And I think this is the other problem, is that we need to make sure that we're teaching people that go into positions in the military, and certainly in the United States, but anywhere, we need to make sure we're teaching them that there are severe consequences when you have these security clearances, and you cannot abuse this. Now, we also, that's obviously a lesson that we have to make sure we're imbuing as people come into these positions of trust. For sure, the United States must do a better job of vetting people, of making sure there's zero trust access, so that you're not allowed to get to these things if you don't need to know. For sure, there has to be an improvement in the systems.
So do you see, security levels being stepped up in the future? What do you think the changes might be going forward to ensure information is secure?
Absolutely. I think there'll be a revamp of what we would call these TS-SCI computer systems. Absolutely. Make sure that only vetted personnel. There were obviously hard copies. I mean, I have to be frank. When I saw the postings and the security markings that were on these hard copies that have been posted in the media, it's so disconcerting, because they are the highest levels of classification. Things like locking down the printer in a secure facility, it has to happen. And I think with any large bureaucracy like the United States has with our DoD, sometimes these things there's lapses, and I know this is a very strong wake-up call that those lapses are unacceptable. It's unacceptable when it involves our allies, for sure, and involves the situation as serious as what we're all facing in Ukraine. But there definitely will be changes, and I think strong accountability with the leadership of this particular individual.
Gordon Lawson, CEO of cybersecurity firm Conceal, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.